Yeah, so the very, very, very last session, not only of today, but of the whole conference. So thank you for still being around. Today there's no alcohol outside and no food, so there's no reason to leave at the moment. So because yesterday we had those two options. So we are going to do 6 startup pitches now. And yeah, by the way, my name is Sarah Gottwald. I'm the Managing Director of Blockchain Founders Group. In case, you haven't heard me in the morning or yesterday, because I'm now already the 3rd time on stage. And so the VC space is really interconnected, and this is why we decided to do this pitch session together. Like Marcel already said, we from BFG's Blockchain Founders Group and Olaf from CVVC. And so it's like the startups have 5 minutes to pitch, and afterwards there's time for at least one question from the audience, if you like. And yeah, maybe BFG, like what we are doing. We are in startup accelerator incubator building startups. It's a program over 3 months, and at the end, we decide whether we want to fund the startups or whether we don't. And yeah, we have 3 startups from us today and 3 from Olaf. And I will first hand over because the first startup will be from CVVC. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Welcome, everyone. First of all, thanks to Sarah and the team for the good partnership. And yeah, as you say, I mean, in the VC space, we work together quite frequently, and hence the idea to not have a VC panel this time around and speak about us, but let the startups do the talking, essentially, and present you with a few selected use cases from our portfolio. CVVC is early stage startup investor accelerator. We have our own co-working spaces out of Zug, Switzerland. We're quite international, also sit in South Africa, in Portugal, in Berlin, and in Vaduz, but essentially overlap quite frequently. In fact, I think we have with your partners, Wolfgang and the team, 4 joint investments, so often compare notes on deal flow. And without further ado, let's start with the startups. So 5 minutes each. We have the opportunity for 1 question per startup. And I'd like to introduce Frank Hartzheim to come on stage, who is the head of sales and marketing for Scorechain. Scorechain is a Luxembourg-based startup which works on an all-in-one solution for crypto asset management, AML, compliance, and security. Frank, over to you.
Thank you very much, Olaf. Thank you, Sarah. Hi. So very happy to be here. I have 5 minutes to pitch. Basically what I do in the 5 minutes, I give you a complete overview what Scorechain does. Before that, I just recently read what Churchill said. He said, if you have 10,000 regulations, you will destroy the respect for law. I think it's not so strong. I think regulation is important, but it needs to be easy to implement, I think, and it must be not blocking any innovation. So what we do in Scorechain is exactly this. We help our customers to cope with their requirements and their necessities in regulation. So we are a blockchain analytics company, and we provide basically blockchain analytics and transparency to people where it really matters. And there are financial institutions, crypto natives, for example, traditional finance banks. For example, they have their local compliance requirements they need to fit, they need to fulfill. We have law enforcement, we have law forensic firms, they need transparency from the blockchain about addresses, wallets, transactions. We have compliance companies that provide compliance as a service. And last but not least, more and more Web3 going into digital identity, where it's very important to see as well in NFT, DeFi protocols that we see what are the counterparty risk, AML analysis, and so on. How we do that, basically what is important, the key issues basically is being able to take informed decisions. And those informed decisions must be safe, sound, and fast. And they should really be based on transparency and data. And those data must be consistent, so easy to use. It must be trustful and up-to-date, consolidated, should be no redundancy, adapted and flexible, and available in real time. Sounds easy, and we have a solution for this. Basically what we do is we run our own nodes on the main blockchains. We run those nodes on-chain, so we get on-chain data from those nodes that we run on our own infrastructure. We got off-chain data from our data providers that we have, from sanction lists, our dark web, any sources you could imagine to get any information about addresses, what happened there, etc. And we have a risk assessment of over 700 VASPs. And then, of course, our data team. And this data team, what they do is basically they consolidate the data, they aggregate the data, and make this data available for the features that we then provide. So we are actually not that new. We are a company which is in the market since 2015. What we have not done is we did not make a lot of noise and a lot of marketing. What we did, we have been building, I think, the most robust and best product in the market when it comes to comprehensive crypto AML solution. We are, when you compare us to any other in the market, we are the only pure European provider with headquarters in Luxembourg and offices in Paris, and all the infrastructure is located in the UE. We run our data centers in Germany and France. We are fully independent, so all our R&D and infrastructure is run by us without any third party involved. So we don't use any external cloud provider, and we are an international team supporting multiple languages. As a fact sheet, a little bit over 120 customers now in more than 45 countries on our platform on a daily basis. 15 million plus transactions are being processed. 75% of our customers are with us, especially looking at the different market conditions that we have right now, but they are really with us since 21 or even earlier, and our availability of the system and the platform is more than 99.9%. We strongly believe in partnerships and an ecosystem, so therefore an integration, because KYT is just one part of the holistic solution. So therefore, we have fully integrated custody technology providers like Taurus, BitGo, Cyberbo, Fireblocks, or Metaco. There are others, of course, on the market. KYC solution providers is important to work with. We do this via our API suite and library. It's very easy to integrate. We integrate with transaction monitoring system coming from the traditional finance like Hawk and SAS. Travel rule becomes more and more important. Nota Bene is one of the partners we work with. And of course, we work with the business management consulting firms that are listed here. That's it. So if you have a question, that's my email. More than happy to answer any questions you may have. Looking forward, and there is no reason to leave. Yeah, exactly. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Do we have a question from the audience? No? Do you want?
Well, or then maybe I do. In terms of partnering opportunities, or also the overall solution, there's often a question in that security space, is it a one solution product of your customers, or they use multiple providers?
A good question.
And how do you partner potentially with those?
Well, basically where we partner directly with is with complementary technology. This is, for example, like custody. Normally, when a financial institution or a custodian, whatever, when they start with technology, they choose the technology provider for custody, but then they want to make sure that certain transactions are frozen or they are released, and they do this with information that they get from a KYT provider. So this is a complementary partnership we have implemented and we work with, just as an example. Coming back to the other part of the question is there one solution for the end customer? Not really. I think we see more and more that there is a multi-supplier or a second supplier approach. Because we talk about security, we want to be sure that we do the right thing. We want to take informed decisions and the right decisions. So therefore, I think it's more and more common that financial institutions take more than just one KYT provider.
Thank you. Give it up for Frank.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So the next startup is Modupe and meCash. Super happy to have her on stage. So meCash is a payments company focused on cross-border payments for small businesses in the emerging markets. So Modupe, all stage is yours.
Hi, everyone. It's an absolute pleasure to be here. I've heard about a lot of use cases for cryptocurrency, for blockchain in the last 2 days, whether it's securitization, tokenization, stable coins, and I want to present to you the other version. So whilst we sit in the West, and whilst we're talking about how to make money, whilst we're talking about how to stake cryptocurrencies, there's a real use case, especially within emerging markets, and the focus of my pitch today is looking at Africa and how African businesses are looking to use the blockchain technology, specifically stable coins, to drive trade on the continent and with the rest of the world. So what is meCash? So we kicked off last year, and what we're doing is we're building PayPal for Africa. meCash is enabling small businesses to send and receive cross-border payments for goods and services. And the underlying technology is blockchain. The vision is really simple. It's PayPal for Africa. The core anchor is small businesses, is a send and receive capability within the continent and the rest of the world. So the plan is to stitch together the 55 African currencies, the 55 African countries, 41 currencies together, allow them to send and receive commercial transaction payments and to receive, and also to stitch the continent country by country with its two biggest trading partners, Asia, China specifically, and Europe. This is how big the scale of the problem is. 3.4 billion is what makes up the cost of commercial transactions within the continent. 44 million SMEs are impacted by this. I was speaking to somebody outside. He's based in he's from New York. He's based in Ghana, so he has his family and he has a subsidiary in New York. And every time he tries to send money from Ghana to New York, it costs him 25%. That's what the cost is to move money from emerging markets into developed markets. And there are many reasons why this is the case. Poor infrastructure, poor settlement system, or lack of settlement system within each of those countries. But the key and the most important thing is every transaction on the African continent goes to the US first, and that's the SWIFT system. So if you want to send money from Nigeria to Ghana, it's a 45 minutes flight. What happens is you go to your bank, and that money goes to the SWIFT system, so your local currency is converted to USD. It goes to a corresponding bank in the US, and then from the US, it goes back to Ghana, and then it goes into another bank, and then that bank converts the USD into the local currency. So you have 2 points of exchange just to move money 45 minutes flight away. And that's really where the problem is. How big is the opportunity? If you're looking to solve this problem in what shape and form, it's 55 countries. There's a population of 1.3 billion, and it has a combined GDP of 3.4 trillion. And for the first time in the history of the continent, last year they signed the African Trade Agreement. It is bigger than the EU. So that's the scale and the potential that we'll be seeing in the next 5 to 7 years. And also, if you look at the existing trade transactions between Africa and the rest of the world, let's take China for example. It's 1.2 trillion of trade that China does with Africa. And majority of that is actually on e-commerce sites. So take our crude oil, take our commodities, everything else is on e-commerce site. Hone it down to the e-commerce site. It's only to e-commerce site, Alibaba and AliExpress. Please do go onto those sites today and try to make a payment. The only card payment for Nigeria, for example, it's a $10 limit. So actually, card payments doesn't work on the continent's biggest trading partner. How do people do it right now? They go via agents. They look for someone in the UK, someone in Europe, someone in Germany. And someone that has a relation with the African country, you pay them cash in one country, and then they pay out in the other country. That is very problematic. It's unregulated. You're relying on liquidity. Imagine an agent taking a request for $100,000 in 1 hour. He hasn't got the liquidity in Germany or in the UK to process that payment or get it out to the suppliers elsewhere. So meCash is really about, looking at direct service of those small businesses and enabling send to their suppliers in any part of the world where they're doing trade. And this is how the technology works. So stablecoins is our use case. It's very important. And the reason why is because the currency itself is there's a lot of FX constraint in the countries we're dealing with, and there's fluctuation of currencies. So we're looking for an appropriate cryptocurrency that can hold its value, and stablecoins is the most relevant one for what we're working with. How does this actually work? So you're in Nigeria, you want to send $10,000 to Germany because you want to buy machineries. So I collect your fiat in Nigeria, I very quickly on-ramp it on Binance, for example, onto USDC, and then I send it into a wallet in Europe. It could be a wallet that belongs to meCash, and then I off-ramp it directly or via another partner and pay out into the German supplier. There's a lot of partnership in the middle of all of this, but the most important thing is we're taking out the banking system, traditional banking system. We're working with on and off-ramp partners in different jurisdictions, and that enables us to move money from Nigeria to Germany in 15 minutes. And we have traction. We have 2,500 SMEs on our waiting list for Nigeria. We have paying customers. In the last 3 months, we've done up to $200,000 of transaction for small businesses in Europe and in Asia. Licensing is very important. Everyone's been talking about regulation yesterday. We're going for a UK license, small payments institution, a Nigerian license, a Rwanda license, and a DRC license, and all is in flight. By the end of the year, we'll be in 10 markets, and we will be doing millions of commercial transactions in Africa, in Asia, and in Europe. And it's a team of 2. And I'm the CEO. If you have any questions, if you want to talk about stablecoin use cases on the African continent, and if you want to be a technology partner, please feel free to reach out. And we're also raising.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. To me, it's a very clear use case. Just one other random comment. The average age on the African continent is 19.
Correct.
And they're all mobile first, so
Correct.
It's very clear.
Correct.
And then people don't want to pay an arm and a leg to Western Union, so very
Correct.
clear use case. Any questions from the audience? Otherwise, I can take
Wonderful.
that one. How do you deal?
Sorry, I just shook the mic. But go ahead with your question.
So, very quickly, how do you deal with the different regulations in the different countries, and you know that it's clear by now in South Africa and not so much in Nigeria? How do you deal with that?
In the first instance, trade on the African continent is very regional based. So when you execute, you think about the region itself. And then you see some harmony with regulation and requirements. So that's the way we're trying to get into the market quickly. There are differences, but they're not that significant. And I think AML and compliance, which is one of the biggest issues, and the way you monitor transactions, is becoming global. So if you're coming as a regulated entity in the UK, you're coming with international standards and best practices. If you're speaking to regulators in West Africa, they're more receptive of your approach because it's got the international standard. That's what you're bringing in. Cool. So that's the way we're approaching it. But you are right. There are differences from one place to the other.
Good. Give it up for meCash. All right, Rohit is up next. So whenever you're at a blockchain event in Germany and you want to meet Aswin, you just need to look for the brightest green shoes, because the whole team is wearing them, and you'll find Aswin. Rohit is the co-founder and chief technology officer of Aswin, and they're dealing with security and trust for the software supply chain. Rohit, floor is yours.
Thanks a lot. I would start. If it's connected, it can be hacked. And if you see, we see a lot of smart connected devices around us. And then the number of these smart connected devices is increasing. It could be a car, it could be an industry, it could be a smart building. Everywhere we see smart devices. But these smart devices, they come with a lot of risks. There, if you see there are cyber risks, if you see their attack path and the attack surface, it's quite long. And that means that these smart devices...
Dear stage direction, we don't see the presentation of the... Now it's on. Thank you, sorry.
Sorry. And if you see the attack surface of these devices, they bring in a lot of cyber risks. Not only they bring in the value, but they bring a lot of cyber risks also. So currently we see the cyber risk management of these devices looks that we are able to manage. But going in the future, because these threats are increasing exponentially, it would be much, much difficult to manage these cyber risks. And these cyber risks come from the software which runs on these devices. The software has a lot of vulnerabilities, and the environment in which these assets and devices run, that also brings a lot of attack vectors. Ashwin provides a solution, an umbrella of solution to attack or to tackle these cyber risks for these devices. So firstly, the software which runs on these devices, we have a solution to track the path of the software in the supply chain. In the supply chain, we can check which software components are part of this software, who is touching upon this software, what they are doing with this software. So all this information is stored on our blockchain network, and with that information, we are able to build a timeline for that software, and we are able to establish the software provenance. Other part is the software bill of material, where we are able to see what different components that software has, and with those software components, once we generate the digital signature for each component, and for each component, then we do the vulnerability check, and we are able to see which cyber risks these software components bring in that software. Our USP is graph-based risk analysis. What it means is, if you see the vulnerability list nowadays, if you do a vulnerability check for a software component, the vulnerability list is quite long. The second part is the vulnerability score that it has. It doesn't tell much about it. It doesn't tell about the environment, about the context where this software component runs. And that's where we have our graph-based risk analysis tool, which brings in a lot of context information about the cyber risks. And not only the vulnerability score that we take care, we bring in other contextual information about the risks of these assets, and we form this graph-based risk analysis by which the companies or the organization, they can have a look on the risks which need to be attacked or which need to be tackled down at first. This company, it was started in 2018. We are based in Stuttgart, and we are around 17 people, and we have multiple products for the cybersecurity. We are very fortunate to have smart people in our management and advisory board. In our journey, we have made a lot of customers, partners, and innovation partners. And in our journey, we started in 2018, and since then, we have Wolfgang, we have Olaf, CVVC, Blockchain Group. They have helped us a lot in this journey by investing in our company and supporting financially and other aspects. And that's all from my side. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much. So in this case, is there a question from the audience?
Maybe about the shoes?
If not, from my point of view, your use cases are super broad. So are you focusing on specific industries?
Yeah, there are different modules that we have, and each module, there are some modules which are specific to some industries, like what I talked about, tracking of the software in the supply chain, which is very special to automotive industry, because there you see the supply chain of the software is quite convoluted and quite distributed, and it's really important, the different suppliers which come together and build a software. So in that scenario, it's really important to track the path of the software. So that's very special to automotive industry. And then there are some other use cases where I talked about graph-based risk analysis, which can be applied to any kind of device, whether it is an IoT device, whether it is an IT or OT device. They are part of our critical network infrastructure, and these devices, the cybersecurity of these devices is quite important, and it needs to be prioritized which device needs to be checked first for these cybersecurity risks.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
It was a pleasure having you.
Thanks.
So, The next startup is not so same, and it's not Peter Lange because he is pretty ill at home. So we have a different startup, and it's Oliver Chantin from Basenode. And yeah, Basenode offers smart crypto invoicing and accounting for companies. So please, your turn.
Yeah, hi, I'm Oliver, and I'm super excited and happy to present you my startup Basenode.io today. And have you ever tried sending money across borders? I mean, Modupe already showed us that it can be quite expensive. If you do it within the European Union, within the Eurozone, everything's usually fine. Low fees, quick settlement times. But if you want to send money, well, to an emerging market like Africa or India, Philippines, and so on, then you will experience a whole different story, because usually it takes a couple of days to settle. You pay quite some fees, up to 25% and more. And well, sometimes the payment gets even blocked. So this is not a small problem. We have, according to the World Banking Report in 2021, more than 1 billion people who live in underbanked conditions. So these people don't have access to the banking system like we do, and they are basically excluded from the global labor market because payments are so difficult and expensive to reach them. This is not the whole story. There's even a worse problem. Imagine being, for example, a small freelance business in Turkey. All your incoming payments are converted into Turkish lira, and last year it had an inflation rate of about 80%. So you cannot really save for the future in these circumstances. On the other hand, we have blockchain-based payments. They've been around for quite some years, and they are way faster. They settle within minutes instead of days, and they cost a fraction of a regular wire transfer. So the million-dollar question is, why are we not seeing companies and freelance businesses around the world using these blockchain payments to integrate them into their business and to pay their workers and so on? Well, there are a couple of reasons. If you ever try to integrate crypto payments into your business as a company, you will probably have faced one of those things. First of all, you already have an accounting system that is based on the fiat system. And if you now start sending out, for example, invoices that are denominated in cryptocurrency, well, then you basically have two systems that are not really connected to each other. You also have to specify which token you want. So let's say you want a stable coin like Tether, US dollar coin. Which one do you want? On what network? Do you want it on Ethereum, on Polygon? And what is the contract address? And what is the address of your client? So there are many things that can go wrong, and sending out invoices for cryptocurrencies is quite a challenge. You also need to integrate your accounting software into your already existing regular accounting software. So you need one system for crypto payments and one for the fiat payments. By the end of the year, you also want to have a tax report. So especially if you have a lot of small transactions in your business, this can be quite time-consuming. And well, the last one is really scary, because if you mistype a blockchain address, then your funds are basically gone. So this is a risk that many companies do not want to take. And handling crypto payments as a business feels a little bit like sending an email in 1997. The user experience is not that great. And this is exactly the problem that we want to tackle with Basenode. We built a software that combines all the features that you would want as a small and medium-sized enterprise to handle crypto payments. Of course, we have some competitors, but in our opinion, we have a mix of features that is especially tailored to small and medium-sized companies and to freelance businesses. So our product has been live for around a year now, and even though we've been in a crypto bear market for the past year, we've seen consistent growth in user numbers. So this gives us the evidence that we are kind of close to a good product market fit. We also see the traffic of our website and of our app coming from mostly emerging markets, which also confirms our hypothesis. And well, we have big plans, because in a couple of weeks, we will launch our fiat to crypto invoicing solution, which means that your client can pay with his credit card or with PayPal, and the payment of your invoice will be automatically converted into your desired token. So you don't have to hold a bunch of different tokens, but yeah, it's more convenient for companies. By the mid of the year, we will integrate Bitcoin Lightning payments for even cheaper and faster transactions. And by the end of the year, our goal is to release our mobile app. And yeah, right now, I'm happy and I'm open for your questions. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Oliver. Questions from the audience? I interrupted you earlier, so do you have one? No? Okay. Your customer base is quite diverse. How do you reach them?
Yeah, that's a good question. So in the beginning, we started a lot of A/B testing. We had a broad marketing mix until we saw, okay, most of our traffic, most of our conversions actually come from LinkedIn and Twitter. So we concentrated a little bit more on that. And we also have a Discord channel where we get user feedback and engage a little bit. We even launched a podcast. So our strategy is more like a content-based strategy. So that means we try to teach how to integrate crypto payments into your business. And then, well, yeah, we try to onboard the users from there.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, next startup, very international, Swiss team. Claudio Staub joins us from London, where he is based. The company is a US company, right? You're incorporated in New York. Co-founder and chief revenue officer of Cybera, and Cybera is disrupting financial cybercrime in fiat as well as in crypto. Floor is yours.
Thank you, Olaf, and thanks everyone for sticking around. I promise I'll keep it short. So Cybera, you know, like many great startups, I would say, like Uber, is based on a frustration that I experienced in my role as a lawyer and my co-founder experienced in his role as a public prosecutor. A frustration that had to do with the amount of scam victims that are out there that we are facing. And I don't want to ask the audience, I hope no one of you has been targeted by a scam, talking about Roman scam, investment scam. But if you have, today your experience is frustrating. First of all, you don't get any of your money back. And second of all, you usually don't get help from your crypto exchange or from your bank. So that's when we said, you know, there has to be a solution, there has to be a way to add technology and innovation to make a difference here for victims. And that's how Cybera was born. How do I change here next? Oh, here. So today we tackle this problem with a platform that has really two solutions. The first one, we call it Victim Support and Response, is where we partner with law enforcement, with crypto exchanges, and with traditional financial institutions to ultimately provide the best possible victim experience and support whenever a victim has lost funds, fiat or crypto. You can see that up to today, we've supported over 5,000 victims, and we've been able to recover over $1 million in US dollars back to victims following that approach. And so the responsive part is one side of the coin, but what's even more powerful is the prevention side of things. So if you think about it, every victim that comes to us, let's say, is being scammed, and because of that scam has made a transfer that ends up at Binance, they come to Cybera, they report the case, and we now know that there is a fraudulent crypto wallet sitting with Binance. And so what we do is we take that wallet and we store it in our cybercrime AML watch list that is ultimately a population of high-quality financial crime data points that traditional banks as well as crypto exchanges can access to enrich their investigation and, in the best case, to prevent fraudulent transactions even before they happen. So that was it in a nutshell from me. I encourage everyone to reach out, send me an email. We've heard it earlier in conversations. For me, it's clear if we want crypto to become adopted for the masses, we have to enable a safe and secure ecosystem. And yeah, partnering with us gets us a step closer to that. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much. So, question from the audience, in case not. Yes, please, Marcel.
This time I stood up so it becomes clear. Marcel here, hi. Very, very good presentation. Thank you so much for that. I'd like to know if in the long run, in the strategic, yeah, it's more of a strategic long-term question. Do you also intend to actually try to recover funds wrongly locked in smart contracts, kind of like specific on-chain action? I know it's a big stretch and the difficult technical question, also execution-wise, but do you have like a long-term plan to extend your services from banks and exchanges away to something, I don't know, to some DEXs or in any way?
Yeah, I mean, if you talk about recovery, I would say our success cases are mostly in the fiat space. In terms of crypto, the challenge is that you have to trace the funds and try to find an exit point at some point, a movement. And we are doing that. And we are, when we do, we actually alert, wherever, let's say Binance or OKX, we alert them. The challenge there is really that we need law enforcement involved, because usually an exchange or so, they don't react without a subpoena. So I didn't mention this, but we do, for victims, file with law enforcement as well, really trying to bring together all these stakeholders. But it's really the whole ecosystem is evolving as we speak, and there's a lot to be done, especially on the law enforcement side, to become more educated about the whole topic.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. So now we are coming to the, thank you for the presentation. And now we are coming to the last startup. It's Particular, and Tim will be presenting, the current CEO. And Particular is building a data and rating platform for on-chain assets in the emerging field of regenerative finance. Please.
Hi everybody, my name is Tim and I'm one of the co-founders of Particular. And with Particular, we are building the first data platform and comparison tools for digitized assets in the intersection of sustainability and Web3. The first market we are going to tackle is actually one of the biggest growth markets within the next years and decades, the voluntary carbon market. The basic idea of this market is to finance nature protection projects by the issuance of so-called CO2 certificates. Those certificates are the monetary equivalent of the CO2 captured or absorbed by the project. Based on regulatory pressure and stakeholder needs, we are seeing more and more companies having something like net zero targets. And this is the reason why this market alone will grow by the factor of 15 within the next 7 years. At the same time, the level of digitization has to increase drastically to overcome the current shortcomings and flaws of the market. Because actually the voluntary carbon market is broken, and we look at the market, we see a lack of transparency and liquidity based on that many intermediaries who are involved in the process. In 2021 alone, $650 million went into the pockets of intermediaries and not into those of the projects. At the same time, based on the level of low digitization, we have poor data quality and ongoing scams. So when we do not improve this market within the next few years, we will see that people will lose completely faith in it. And this is where regenerative finance come into play. ReFi is a movement in Web3 which aims to make economics more integrative and sustainable. And they are actually starting with the voluntary carbon market. By using blockchain as a transparent ledger, we are currently seeing over 200 projects who are building the transparent, liquid, and accessible market we are all aiming for. So supply is already there, but when we looked at the demand side, we quickly realized that actually nobody is taking advantage of those solutions. And we were asking ourselves, why is it that way? So we went out and spoke to over 200 experts in the field and simply asked them. And they all had 3 main reasons. So it was about regulatory uncertainty through the digitization process. It was about security concerns, especially in times from FTX. And they said that they simply have not the time or research to conduct their own research and find them suitable projects based on their preferences. And this is actually a pity because we need those digitized solutions to reach our climate goals. This is why we came up with Particular. With Particular, we are building the first data platform and comparison tool that rates those on-chain solutions based on their quality. And while doing so, we're especially focusing on compliance, regulatory, and security aspects to close the information gap which was described by the various stakeholders. Our aim is to put the technology behind the curtain, to make the transition as easy as possible, especially for the classical industry. That's the reason why we build our database like a classical ESG database. So investors and companies can come onto the platform, search for projects based on their preferences and needs, and in the second step, compare them side by side. When they have found a suitable project, we guide them through the buying process, and when they finalize the purchase, they can come back onto our platform and use various analyze tools like inventory management, portfolio management, but they also have the ability via API to track regulatory reports which they will need. To make the comparison as easy as possible, we provide them with quality ratings and in-depth reports. Actually, digitizing carbon is just the beginning. So within the next few years, we will see more and more money flow into green assets, which are represented on the blockchain to increase liquidity and trust. So we believe that the intersection of sustainability and Web3 is actually one of the biggest market opportunities within the next years. We are very happy to have the opportunity to tackle this with our diverse team. So besides me, there are Wolfram and Nadine. Wolfram has an extensive background in the software industry, while Nadine is an expert in business development and sustainability. And all together with my background in finance and crypto regulation, we are very convinced that we can lead our database to a success. In summary, we are making investing in the intersection of sustainability and Web3 easier, more understandable, and more transparent. We are very happy to be at the forefront of this movement and would like to invite you to join our mission. So get your place on the waiting list, be one of the first who can access our platform. And thank you very much for listening. I'm really looking forward to answering all your questions.
Thank you very much, Tim. Are there any questions? Otherwise, I have one. No? How do you make money? i.e., who pays you, which side, and what's the business model?
Yeah, we spoke to traditional ESG databases, so in the future we will make money the same way they do. So they always have a software as a service model, where you have something like a base fee per year, subscription-based, and you have a modular structure of additional services. So they exclude, for example, external data usage or APIs, for instance. But at the moment, the market is not that mature. So within this year and also in the beginning of next year, we are planning to make our money on the issuer side. So we take listing fees, and also we build a partner network with lawyers, taxation advisors, smart contract auditors, because we were already seeing that the data quality and availability is pretty poor. So with the partnerships, we help the startups to increase data quality and also reliability for potential investors, and at the same time work with referral commitments in addition to the listing fee.
Thank you very much. Give it up for Tim. All right, I think that concludes it. Payments, security, and ESG were our key themes for today. I hope you enjoyed the startups. On behalf of Sarah and myself, thank you very much for the interest, and back to the moderator.